If you have been having ups and downs in pursuit of your dream, don't give up. Keep moving ahead with positive energy. Hello, I'm Adrian Atkinson, and you're watching Jamaica Magazine, the show that inspires, educates, and informs.
Hurricanes can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
Up next, more information on government's initiatives.
As of today, I, as Prime Minister in Council, that is to say, as Chairman of the National Security Council, acting on the advice of the security forces, have officially declared a zone of special security and community development operations under the Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act 2017. The Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, Greenwich Town Zone Order 2020 has been gazetted. This law, under which the zones are declared, was created for upholding and preserving the rule of law, public order, citizen security, and public safety within certain geographically defined areas of Jamaica. This law allows for a coherent strategy utilizing interministerial and interagency coordination towards social intervention with the aim that the people gain confidence in the security forces and trust the justice system so that the new culture of the community is self-sustaining and permanent.
Earlier this morning, the Jamaica Defence Force and the Jamaica Constabulary Force deployed to sections of the community to begin preparation for this declaration. And we're operating along the following boundaries. To the west, beginning at the intersection of Marcus Garvey Drive and 3rd Avenue, the boundary extends in a northeasterly direction along 3rd Avenue and then southeasterly along the train line, continuing northeasterly parallel to West Avenue, then to the east of Greenwich All Age School to Spanish Town Road. To the north, it continues southeasterly along Spanish Town Road to the shared parish boundaries of Kingston and St. Andrew, in the vicinity of the intersection of Spanish Town Road and Maxfield Avenue. To the east, it continues from the vicinity of the intersection of Spanish Town Road and Maxfield Avenue in a southwesterly direction along the shared parish boundary of Kingston and St. Andrew down to Marcus Garvey Drive. And to the south, the boundary extends from the intersection of the shared parish boundary I mentioned before and Marcus Garvey Drive in a northwesterly direction along Marcus Garvey Drive to the starting point at the intersection with 3rd Avenue. As you have heard outlined, the ZOSO is a part of the overall plan for the security of Jamaica. We have a plan that has short, medium, and long-term components, and the ZOSO is a part of the long-term component. If I may remind you, the short-term plan is to use measures like the state of emergency, the Emergency Powers Act, to allow the Jamaica Defence Force to support the Jamaica Constabulary Force in cauterizing the high levels of violent crime. In the medium term, we seek to build out the national security apparatus to be better able to handle the increasing levels of violence. But in the long term, which is the real sustainable plan, we want to change the culture of violence in Jamaica. And we want to ensure that the communities that tends to breed violent youngsters are enabled to function as normal communities. The ZOSO is a component of that long-term plan. We want to assure citizens that all members of the Jamaica Defence Force and Jamaica Constabulary Force who are working in the zone have been properly trained and certified to do so, giving due regard to the protection of basic human and citizens' rights, as well as the unique requirements of the ZOSO legislation. We urge you to acquaint yourselves with these regulations and requirements in order to easily and conveniently transit the area as you go about your lawful business. We ask you to comply with the instructions of the security forces as we strive to remove the criminal elements from the area.
An analysis of the situation in the Greenwich Town area has revealed that the community continues to be characterized by increased gang-related violence and criminal activities as the gangs compete for area dominance, and overall, the intervention in the space will be geared at the urgent need to save lives and setting the conditions for and the delivery of effective social interventions to reduce social vulnerability to violence and crime.
We've seen within the first 6 months of this year that this violence has continued and gone up. We've had 7 murders, of which 2 are double murders, and 8 shootings over that period. And so even though we moved assets into the area of Greenwich Town under the state of public emergency, and even though overall in St. Andrews South, the level of violence has reduced and we're now, some way below last year, we recognize that to get long-term change in the area, we've had to look at some long-term strategies.
It is important that we continue to build on the success of the use of the ZOZOs and ensure that the experience of peace, protection of the state, and safety from gang violence become the reality of the Greenwich Town community, as was largely the experience in the Mount Salem and Denham Town ZOZOs.
We have seen the effect in Mount Salem, where since its imposition in 2017, significant community development has taken place, and they have not had a murder over the past 3 years. Denham Town, it has not been murder-free, but it has significantly reduced from what it was before. There's certainly a 30% decrease in murders in Denham Town and a 66% decrease in shootings in that space. And again, there are significant social intervention that has taken place there.
This government continues to place greater focus on citizen security through the implementation of the clear, hold, build approach. This commitment has led to the development of a national plan for citizen security, which will be utilized as an important supporting framework for citizen security programming to deliver an appropriate and sustainable mix of responsive, protective, and preventative interventions. The government of Jamaica will therefore continue to leverage this approach as a platform for developing and refining practices that promise enduring positive results in improving citizen security through the social and physical transformation of vulnerable communities.
It's time for some very important information on the government's COVID-19 response measures.
Some 67 beaches and 74 rivers were visited last weekend. I regret to advise this Honorable House that the overall level of compliance was a mere 33%, with a clear majority of 67% of persons failing to observe the rules that were established. The breaches of the individual protocols, Mr. Speaker, were even more serious, where some 97% of people visiting the beaches and rivers last weekend did so without wearing any mask as required under the protocol. Some 66% did not practice social distancing, and many operators of these facilities also fail to obey and enforce the protocols. Only 22% of the river operators work within the designated hours as prescribed under the order. 46% of beach operators were compliant in this respect. 19% of beaches and rivers had sanitation stations, and 42% had clearly marked areas for vending. Only a meager 4% had signs erected stating the protocols to be followed. Parties and other events were still being held. A football tournament, Mr. Speaker, with over 800 people was held at Elshire Beach last weekend. Over 800. Football tournament sponsored by some major companies who should know better. This situation is untenable. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, as of the 2nd of July, all beaches and rivers will be strictly monitored, and those found to be in breach of the protocol will be closed with immediate effect. Both beach and river operators, as well as the public, will be warned for possible prosecution under the Disaster Risk Management Act. The onus will be on the beaches and rivers and the operators of these facilities to satisfy the authority that they have put in place all the protocols before they are allowed to reopen, Mr. Speaker. The monitoring which will be done will include the police, and where we observe that the protocols that have been handed out is not being followed, all of these establishments will be closed, and the possibility of prosecution against persons in violation could take place. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management and the Social Development Commission will be surveying the beaches and rivers to ensure that the protocols are being observed. The SDC's capacity will be boosted by the employment of some 250 temporary workers across the island to assist in ensuring that the compliance and the messaging is sent out, Mr. Speaker. This team will sensitize the operators and other persons about the importance of enforcing the protocols. Beach and river surveys will continue, Mr. Speaker. It is vital that all who operate and visit these facilities obey the COVID-19 protocols. I say once again, the manner in which people use these recreational spaces will determine whether they remain open or closed. Cinemas, playhouses, and theaters have been closed since March. These venues will be conditionally reopened for 14 days with effect as of Sunday, the 5th of July. one aspect of the protocol requires that not more than 60% of the seating capacity must be used, and there are other important mechanisms that have been put in place, which speaks to a maximum of 4 persons from the same family, and we have indicated that these requirements, Mr. Speaker, are necessary, and I want to thank the operators of these facilities who have met with us. I also want to mention, Mr. Speaker, that in addition to the playhouses, many other locations such as schools, auditoriums, and community centers are used for this form of entertainment, Mr. Speaker. Let me make the point that only plays will be facilitated. We're not talking about parties. We're talking about plays. You know, there are some plays that is staged in the corporate area, that is taken outside of the corporate area, and are held in auditoriums and community centers. This is what we are talking about. And the same protocol will be in place as it relates to that. As of the 2nd of July, dining will once again be allowed in restaurants. Occupancy, Mr. Speaker, must not exceed 50% of the capacity at any one point in time. No more than 4 persons can be seated at a table. There must be at least 6 feet of space between the table. And we are asking, Mr. Speaker, in the protocol that no table must be joined to facilitate large groups, Mr. Speaker. The operators of theaters, cinemas, and playhouses and restaurants must allow access to officials from the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and the Ministry of Health to monitor these operations, Mr. Speaker, and all persons will have proper identification. The issue of entertainment has been a major area of concern. The Most Honorable Prime Minister indicated that discussions will commence to look at the reopening of the entertainment sector. I am pleased to announce that the second, a meeting with the entertainers, with the Ministry of Entertainment, to discuss the way forward will be held at the Ministry of Local Government. This meeting is being convened so that we can have the kind of discussion that will inform whatever recommendations will be made at the subcommittee of Cabinet on Friday. Mr. Speaker, we have extended an invitation to a wide cross-section of the entertainment industry, and Minister the Honorable Babsy Grange have been working to ensure that all the major players are involved in the discussion, and we will take on board their recommendations as it relates to this vital industry. But I want to make the point to members of this Honorable House. Any decision that is taken on the reopening of any entity that was closed must have the blessings of the Ministry of Health. Without the Ministry of Health sanctioning any decisions, no decisions can be made, and I want to make that point. I am urging, Mr. Speaker, and seeking the support of all Jamaicans as the government moves to open business and to relax some of the measures, that we try our best and ensure that these measures work.
properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
Taking responsibility for our health includes paying attention to the type of foods we eat and labels on the products we buy. To help you understand, watch this.
Your body needs energy, and we call this our daily requirements of calories. And for Jamaican men, it's about 2,100. For Jamaican women, it's about 1,900 calories per day. The calorie is just a unit of energy to say how much energy you need to get around your daily activities and so on. If you're more active and you're not in a desk job, then you're going to burn more calories. If you go to work, when you get up in the morning, you sit in a car and you go to work, you sit at a desk all day, and then lunchtime come, you order and they deliver the food to you, and then you eat that and you go back and sit again, and then you sit in a bus or a car and you go home. So you're sitting all day, you're not doing much, versus somebody who's on the road and they're walking around or they're standing all day like the teachers and nurses and so on. Then you'll realize the difference in how much energy you will need. And so if you are more active, you should be eating a little bit more. But the problem is that everybody is eating as if they're working in sugarcane fields, chopping cane all day. And this is the problem. So we consume more calories than we are burning off. And every day if we keep on consuming calories, you need 3,500 calories to make 1 pound of fat. One soda, if you look on the serving size for these things, these juices and so on, you'll think that, oh, it's just 110 calories. But how many servings come in that container? About 3 or 2.5. So you can easily drink 300 calories like that. And if you do that 5 times for the day, that's 1,500 calories. You almost don't need to eat anything else for the rest of the day. So the excess calories come in the body, and then the body begins to store them as fat. And then you put on more weight and more weight. You have to watch the pastries and the breads and all of these things that people, even when they're vegetarian, they still have a lot of these little snacks and so on. These things are full of calories. You know that one of the cream crackers is about 450 calories. Water crackers is about 500. Yeah, nobody don't want to hear. I never want to believe it either. But this is what you get, the packs that you get, and a lot of people eat them with butter, right? So can you imagine how many calories you're putting in your body with one little snack? And you don't talk about the tea yet, with the milk, the condensed milk and the sugar that you have to have that with. All of these things, they add up without you even knowing.
The ingredients label will go from the most to the least in a product. So if the product is making a claim, look at where that claim is. If it is 1, 2, or 3, because if it falls less than that, you're really not getting value for your money, right, in terms of content. The nutrition facts. One of the first things you're going to look at is the servings per container, and this says 2.5, which means it's 2.5 servings in the container. You are not supposed to drink it, you must share it, right? And then you're going to look at your calories. It says 90 calories, but it's 90 calories per serving, and it's 2.5 servings. So it's 2.5 times 90, which comes out to about 225. And then you come down and you look at your sugar, and it's 22 grams of sugar, but it's per serving. So the entire container is 2.5 times 22, which works out about 55, 56 if my maths is right. And there's 4 grams equal 1 teaspoon, so you end up with about roughly 14 teaspoons of sugar. And that is, you use this template for all the products that have nutritional facts on them. This is 14 teaspoons of sugar, and the American Heart Association recommends that for an adult male, you're supposed to consume 9 teaspoons of added sugar per day. For an adult female, it is 6 teaspoons of added sugar per day. And for a child, it's less than 6 teaspoons per day. And a child here, we're talking about from 2 to 18 years old. Don't look at a container and judge it by the size alone. It's very important to read the label so you know exactly. And look at it. 220 calories. For parents, we're asking them, to be very mindful of how much sugar they're giving their kids, right? Because it impacts upon their health in the long term.
We try to provide information to parents and guardians, teachers, anyone about the alternatives to these sugary drinks, because really you don't need them in your diet. You can get enough sugar that you need from the foods that you eat, the carbohydrates, which are converted to sugars in your body, which give you energy. So some of the alternatives are, of course, water. It's the best one, but there's also fresh fruit juices. So blending your own juices without adding sugar, and you'll have the natural sugars and fiber from the fruits. There's coconut water. It should be, you should actually drink this in moderation because it does have quite a high sugar content, but it is a good alternative. For the children, freezing the juices into popsicles or ice cubes so that it's more interesting for them to drink, as well as doing infused water. So infused water is it's a process where you cut up your favorite fruit or vegetable or even mint leaves or aloe. You place it in water overnight so that the vitamins, the minerals, all the goodness from the fruits and vegetables are infused into the water, and you can have that. It's not sugar sweetened, and it gives you the vitamins and minerals that you need throughout the day. And then for children, there's unsweetened milk. So not flavored milks like the chocolate milks, but unsweetened milk doesn't have a high sugar content, and it also will give the children the calcium that they need for their growing bodies as well.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Do join us again tomorrow when we'll bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.